Strap in and get ready. This is the Wild Will Throwdown. We're your all-access pass to the world of short track racing, covering everything from regional results to national highlights. Each episode, we dive into upcoming schedules and bring you exclusive interviews with special guests from the heart of the motorsports industry. Now, here is your host, Wild Will Greenwell.
And welcome to another great episode of the Wild Will Throwdown, season number 5, supporting Indy Warrior Partnership for our veterans. My name is Will Greenwell, and I am joined by the co-hosts of this show, plural, Mr. Honk Harold Adams, Young Money Dalton Connor. And before we begin today, I want to send our dear condolences to the family of Mr. Ron Lasley. The Faster Pastor, he passed away last week unexpectedly. Basically, he had a minor heart attack. Everything was good. Went in for a bypass surgery. I don't know the exact name of it, but I know the procedure pretty well because my family have been affected by it, of course. But he passed away with complications. Apparently, how it was said, they were taking him down for some tests. Long story short, he suffered 2 strokes. Same thing happened to my sister when she passed away. It's just part of the complications of that surgery. So we wish our dear condolences to Ron Lasley. Harold and I have gotten the honor recently to spend the time in the Salem Speedway booth with him. He was the chaplain at Salem Speedway, longtime racer, Louisville Speedway, Sportsdrome Speedway. He goes back well before I even started getting into motorsports. But Harold Adams, I'll kick it off with that. I know I don't want to start on a somber note, but man, we lost a legend of our sport.
Yeah, no doubt. And, it's kind of a surprise. Well, it was definitely a surprise, especially to us. We didn't find out until Saturday when we was up at Speedrome. We found out, and we were both shocked. We just didn't want to believe it because we figured, that everything was fine. But as you said, there's always a big risk, with that type of procedure. So, but we hate to hear that. But, it's just one of those things. And also, while we're on that subject, too, talking about Speedrome, we need to go also talk about Chuck Hargraves,
Yes.
a big figure up there at Speedrome, and him passing away this week was another somber event there. They, did a little ceremony for him up there at Speedrome when we was up there Saturday.
Yeah, and, unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated. We know that. Like, we're all going to meet our maker one day, and it's going to come. And, but we don't want to see stuff like this where it's unexpected. And, old age is one thing, right? You get to grow old, and that's just a benefit of life we get here. But unfortunately, shockers come like this. When I lost my mom, I lost my 2 sisters unexpectedly. All 3 of those were unexpected. And now you see the racing community and the family that we're all getting older, and your childhood kind of blinking before your eyes. But like we said, no somber. Ron Lasley, we know where he is. He was a wonderful chaplain. Actually, back in the day, performed the service for my grandfather when I was the age of 2 when he passed away. So a very special place in my heart for Mr. Ron Lasley. Rest in peace, buddy, and we will see you hopefully one day soon. But Dalton Connor, we'll kick it off with you. Welcome back to the show. You did not compete this weekend. You actually swung the golf club.
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun too. Usually I'm one that I'm miserable if I'm not at a racetrack or racing somewhere over the weekend, but I had a good time with some buddies and my girlfriend and brother. So Jacob Robertson actually came up and was golfing with us. So that was a sight to see. I'll just say that.
My gosh, they have a club long enough?
Actually, he used my brother's because we didn't give him a good enough heads up good enough heads up for him to bring his own golf club. So he used my brother's, but luckily Dylan's pretty tall too. So it worked out in the end, but me and my cousin Caden, we laid the smack down on him. So it just is what it is over there.
Hey, there you go. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't get to play much anymore. I do have my clubs out here. I actually cleaned them up the other day. And my wife was like, when are you going to play? It's like, yeah, I know. Don't remind me. But, Harold Adams, we had a great weekend, of course. Golden Tempo, congratulations to Kentucky Derby. We'll give the first result there. You and I spent the Saturday up at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Had a wonderful day. It was such a good vibe when we walked on the property. Kevin greeted us. We actually sat in the VIP. You took pictures half the time. Stayed pretty warm for us anyways. We had a good time talking to the staff, who actually some of the staff returned. John Aldridge, man, I love sitting in the press box talking to him, or the VIP rather. He's the race director. And seeing all of our great friends, it was a great time up at Speedrome.
Yeah, it was our first time up there for the year, so it was awesome to get back up there to the speedrome. Like I said, see some familiar faces, and really felt comfortable. You know, unless you were outside for a while, where my hands started to freeze up, and I had to get into the warm comforts of the VIP with you for a little while, warm up. But I tell you what, it was some awesome racing. So it was great to be back.
Yeah, Speedrome's doing a phenomenal job. Kevin Garrigus and the whole family, the whole team, the whole staff. Look, we've talked about it. It takes a entire army to make a racetrack run, and they're doing great things up there at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Just want to go on and talk about this. He wanted us to start promoting it big time. Kevin Garrigus, Speedrome.tv will be at the Sportstrome Speedway on May the 16th. Now, that is the 60th annual Midwestern. Make sure you mark your calendars. If you cannot make it, Speedrome.tv is where that will be at. It's going to be a great time. They're getting everything set up for that. So come down and join us. It's going to be a heck of a field of outlaw figure eight drivers, mini outlaw figure eight drivers, Ford figure eight drivers. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. Just want to touch on a couple things at the Indianapolis Speedrome this past week. How about Kevin Brooks and that 22 Troy Hughes owned ride? That kid becoming a wheelman.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty impressive, young kid like that, just kind of coming out of nowhere here last year or whatever, and was doing pretty good. This year, he's definitely making his mark. I mean, for him to cut through the X like that, I mean, sometimes you kind of forget that he's, new to the game. I mean, he looks really, really, really good.
And one more other thing I want to touch on is this. You brought this up. We were actually in the car on the way home. You and I usually just talk about the race we saw and what we, talk about, because you're taking pictures most of the time and I'm sitting there as a spectator taking notes or whatever the hell I'm doing. But, this is the first really time you brought it up that we actually seen a mini outlaw figure eight race, you and I, that was actually a race, it seemed like.
Yeah, because we've seen it, with like less than 10 cars or whatever, what we've seen over the past couple of years. And that division's kind of slowly kind of slugged along. But, last year it picked up some, and then this year's really picked up like gangbusters. And yeah, like I said, this is the first time we actually see a full, like a lot of cars, and have to see the X come into play, and a lot of battles all over the track. And I tell you what, they put on a really good show.
Oh, it was a great time. I enjoyed it. Got home early, 10:30 p.m. from Speedrome for us. I live 2 hours away. You live almost 2 hours away. That's a great day, and we had a hell of a time, and great to see everybody at the Indianapolis Speedrome. Now, on Sunday afternoon, it was a bright early morning for me. I got up at 6 a.m. I headed up to the Salem Speedway, fueled by the Hoosier Lottery and powered by the John Jones Auto Group, new in 2026. And again, more improvements. The VIP looks like a restaurant. I mean, it has a racing simulator now. Actually, I hate it. And no, I don't want it to change. I don't really hate it like I really hate it. My head messes with me, because if you've never been to the press box at Salem Speedway, when there's a race going on with drifters and drag racers and a race simulator behind you, you don't know if there's a wreck. You don't know if something's going on. You don't know if a race car's out there, Harold Adams.
Yeah, you don't know where it's coming from. We always talk about that with the drifters off of our squealing tires, and we're thinking someone's spinning out over in turn two. So,
PTSD.
and now we got, huh?
I said PTSD. We got PTSD. We think someone's wrecking on the track, and we go, oh, what's going on?
I know we don't want to miss anything, because we want to definitely comment on it. But yeah, that simulator was going on behind us, and we thought someone was crashing into the VIP back there.
I tell you, it's awesome to see what they've done. The racing simulator, and they're actually building a big simulator, going to be an actual race car body downstairs, so that's going to be fun to see how it all takes place. But what a great afternoon. We look at the kickoff. Galen Clark picked up the Legend Series win. Billy Hines picked up the A feature. B feature went to Joey Maliska. In the Ember 18, Salem Supercar, Shane Slider. The Big Crown Vic track was Aaron C. And the Great American Stocks. Man, we're going to talk about that for a second. That Great American Stock race, and I can't wait to talk to Trent Bayer, the first-time winner at Salem Speedway, here in a second. But man, the storylines. You had guys in contact. You had John McLaren, Alex Ware. You had Alex Ware and Wayne Edwards. You had the Leader Catastrophe. I think that would be a great title, Leader Catastrophe, because not only was Brian Bayer leading, of course, contact there, Glenn Neal bounced off the outside retaining wall, kind of came down just a little bit. Well, Brian Bayer was just trying to avoid him, went down, hit the Jersey barrier, and that was kind of all she wrote. So that was a leader incident. And then you had Austin Baum, who was coming around turn number 3 and 4 and going to collect the checkered flag, and he had malfunction, so that gave the win to Trent Bayer. And look, like I'm going to tell Trent Bayer today, that win is credible. You were at the right time, right place. You didn't let attrition get to you. You were persistent all day long. You earned that. And, what a storyline that Great American Stock Race was.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Trent Bayer, he ended up, I believe he was on the pole to start that race, and he ended up jumping out in the lead and looked really strong
Yes.
early on. And then things happened, things changed, and he fell back a little bit, and then all the circumstances, like you said, happened. All of a sudden, he finds himself back up into the lead, and boom, there he is in victory square.
Yeah, it's hard to believe what the day started like to where it ended, and everything else that took place. Billy Hines, we had about 42 Crown Vics that entered the short track. Of course, qualifying locked in the top 24. The rest went to the B feature. And, man, that 18 of Joey Maleska, man, I tell you what, he looks strong.
Yeah, I think that car is going to be a force here to be reckoned with the rest of the way. I mean, I was noticing that last week, I think it was, and at Sportstrom, and then, put up a good fight this week and just kind of blew him away, really. And so he's a young kid, so we'll see how he develops. Be interesting.
No doubt. And let's talk about, Aaron C., big track win. Aaron C., you and I talked to him post-race when we were back there in line. They were getting paid out, the drivers, and we saw them on our way out. And we said, look, Aaron, you're not one to hold back, but you were riding back there, and you look like cool and contempt. And he said the same thing. He was running 23-second lap times, and he goes, what the hell? Am I running 23-second lap times in a Crown Vic? That's not me. But it paid off for him.
Yeah, it did. I mean, a lot of times patience is a virtue there. I mean, that's what you got to do with everything going on. And I was the one that went down there to interview him after the races, and I was expecting, a jubilant, wild, crazy AJ. Instead, he was kind of collective there and kind of wore out, and
Crying.
tears were coming down his face because he was just so excited about all the hard work they put into it and everybody, and then there he is, winning the race. So it's really cool to see.
Well, that's what it's about. We love the emotion. That's what we always talk about. The emotion is where you go. And it was really cool to see him out of his element and kind of being emotional. He almost didn't make it. His car was having issues. Uncle Mike, of course, we're talking about Michael Kremner in that 15, really helps Aaron on that car a lot. And it was really good to see. But, Dawn, I don't know. We really don't have nothing to talk to you. But did you what was your score? Let's just talk about that. What was your score in the golf game?
But no, but you don't want to talk about my score. Let's talk about racing. Let's just go back to racing.
That bad,
we were playing a 2-man scramble, and we beat them. We actually had to go. It was me and my cousin versus Dylan and J Rob, and we had to have a playoff because we tied at the end of 18 holes. So we played the last hole 18 again, and we beat them by one stroke. So I'll take my win on the weekend and go home with that. But
what was the final score?
Crown Vic,
Final score.
I don't know, honestly, because I wasn't keeping the scorecard. My cousin was. Yeah, I ain't going to embarrass myself that bad on here. No, but that Crown Vic big track race, I saw, obviously, AJ was leading it a lot. And Chase Adams, I mean, he's my good buddy, but he was coming strong those last few laps. I think he got the second with about 6 to go. Does that sound right? 5, 6 to go?
Somewhere in that nature.
I mean, I think he ran his fastest lap. Yeah, lap 71. I'm looking at it right here. So he clearly had some left in the tank, but I know he was pushing hard. So good run to him. And yeah, just heartbreak for Austin Baum. I mean, I'll leave it at that. I don't even want to rub it in if he's listening to this. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. Like, and Trent will obviously, he knows it's hard on Austin, but Austin, I guarantee you, will say that Trent earned that win. He was in the right time, the right place. It just, sometimes in racing, you need a little luck. I mean, you need that little luck. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's good luck. But it's bottom line, it's luck. But this week, we'll go on into our topic of the week. This week, Mr. Hawk Harold Adams has the topic of the week. So All right, Harold Adams, what do you got for us? And yes, this is not scripted, and I promise you that. We do not know the topic of the weeks until we get on here, and there's no telling what it's going to be this week with him.
Yeah, you're right. This is not scripted. We haven't even talked about this, and Will, you're going to be really surprised at where I'm going with on this one.
Wonderful.
Because oh, you're going to like it though. This is something I usually don't pay attention to, don't really worry too much about, and that is kind of the national scene. I just don't keep up with NASCAR and all the big circuits like I used to years ago. Just a little bit here and there, whatever. But I just want to know what you guys' thoughts are. We'll just talk about this. And basically, Cletus McFarland. I mean, his name has been in the spotlight, and he's drawn attention. And guys like me, that haven't really paid much attention to NASCAR and all that, I'm kind of watching this and seeing where this is going. It's really captivating to me. It's been really interesting. So it's like, what are you guys' thoughts on this? I mean, he has kind of come out of nowhere on there and really has showed up. And it's interesting that NASCAR now has not allowed him to run any more super speedway races for a while until he gets some more experience on the short tracks. So it's like, is that really fair? I mean, it seems like he's kind of showed up there a little bit. He had a great run in the ARCA race. And I mean, but I think it's really cool. I mean, we met him down there at Freedom Factory, a couple years ago, Will, when we was down there for the uh, Winter Storm Series. And, it's just wild to think that somebody like that can just kind of, okay, I'm going to run NASCAR, and ARC and all that, and actually get out there and compete. And I mean, it's like, I wonder if, NASCAR is worried there's going to be more guys try to just jump in there and, jump things out. So they don't want to, make it too open. So it's almost like he's caught them off guard. So, Will, what do you think about that?
Well, there's a lot. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. There's a lot to this, I think. Garrett Mitchell, which is his real name, Cletus McFarland. Talking about this, he ran ARCA race for a while. It's where he kind of started at a little bit, ARCA Menard series, and that's wonderful. That's a great developmental division series if you want to make it big. Then he got in the truck series. And then, so with NASCAR, a lot of people don't know, you have to go through a testing process to get official license to actually compete in there. So you have to do testing, like he tested at Rockingham, I believe. And they denied him license or whatnot to run the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. They stated he needed a little more experience. Now, a lot of drivers, I can tell you, in NASCAR in the Cup Series are happy that he didn't get his license. Because of some of the earlier ARCA Menard Series races he's had where he's kind of took out the field. I'm not saying on purpose. I'm not saying that. On the super speedways. And then these younger kids growing up in the sport, going to be developmental drivers, whether it's with Chevrolet, Ford, or Toyota, they don't get the opportunity. Then you have this one guy who has a lot of money. And good for him that he's built a social media platform that he does get all this money and funds, pays their way to the top, right? We see this a lot. And I'm not going to mention any names. We've seen people who don't really belong in a car get put in a car because of their money. Let's be honest. So there's the bad part about it. Now, the other flip-flop side, yes, he has money. If he pays his way to the top and they do let him go, he needs to do it right. Run a few more ARCA races. I believe I saw he committed to running a full season with the funding with ARCA. So that means, yes, he will be at the Salem Speedway if he does run the full season because they come September the 12th for the ARCA Menard Series 200 Under the Lights, which is making a lot of people in this area very happy. So yeah, if you do it right and you can win more and show that you're a top 5 competitor, and then next you go to the truck series, don't go right into the O'Reilly or the Cup. Now, all the O'Reilly Auto Parts series is the old Cup cars. It's kind of like the ARCA Menard series now. The old stool cars are the ARCA steel bodies. So basically, then you're going to go to the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, show you can compete there. Don't do 5 races and expect to go to the Cup series in the next gen car. Just don't do that. I hope they don't do that. If you're going to do it right. ARCA Menards, Craftsman, O'Reilly, Cup. I think it should be done in that order. I don't like when people skip series. I don't like it. An ARCA Menard Series car doesn't drive the same way a Craftsman Truck Series does. I guarantee a Craftsman Truck Series don't drive like the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars do. And I know that those O'Reilly Auto Parts Series cars do not drive like the next gen car. So that's my 2 cents. Dalton, what do you think about that?
I think you guys pretty much both hit it right on the head. I like for Harold's point, he brings a lot of eyes to the sport, social media. He brings a lot of fans to the stands. So that's good in that aspect. Now, what you were saying, Will, kind of just buying his way to the top. He does that, but I will say everybody has to do that now, whether
Sure.
it's a sponsor behind you or your own money, whether it's ARCA, Truck, O'Reilly, Cup, it doesn't matter. You got to have the money to do it. It's no secret nowadays you're not going to get there with talent.
No.
Now, I was watching Dale Jr.'s podcast when Cletus was on there a year or two ago, maybe. I can't really remember. So before, like, his mind has definitely changed now, like 100%. His goal was to run the Daytona 500 in 2027. That's just completely unrealistic. And he was asking Dale Jr. about it, like what he thought. And you could kind of see Cletus was all like hyped up, like, oh, he's going to say, yeah, great idea. And Dale said, no, I wouldn't do that.
Good.
Don't do that. So you could tell it took the wind out of his sails a little bit. But in my opinion, he needs that. He does not need to be in a Cup car right now.
No.
In my head, he really doesn't need to be in a O'Reilly car either. He needs to do what he's about to do, run a season in ARCA, and then if you want to do a few truck races here and there as you're running in the ARCA season, that's fine. Do that just to get his feet wet in the truck deal too.
And I think that's good because if you run the truck series, you're done with ARCA, you graduated, you showed you're a top 5 competitor, and you go, all right, we're going to dabble in the trucks a little bit during that ARCA season, 2 races. Then if you are ready to move up, run a full season in trucks and maybe do 1 or 2 O'Reilly Auto Parts races. That's how you do it.
Absolutely. I mean, these kids that are the new drivers, the new generation of drivers coming up through the ranks, they've been doing it since they were 3-4 years old. I mean, that's all they know is racing. So Cletus, he's been around cars his whole life, but oval racing compared to drag racing it's just not even close to the same. I mean, nothing about it's the same really, besides going fast. I mean, that's about the only thing you can compare it to. But the way he's gonna do it, and I believe he got humbled because he probably came into the sport thinking that, I mean, his goal was to run the 527, which was completely unrealistic, and he got humbled for sure quick because he realized how tough the competition and how tough all that stuff is going to be. I mean, it's no easy task running a whole ARCA race or whole truck race, whatever. I mean, it's a long time in those cars when he's used to being in a race car for 4 seconds, 5 seconds going in a straight line. So it's completely different than his normal world. But I think the way he's going to do it and is leaning towards going just the ARCA direction right now, I believe that's the way to go for him. And I was watching one of his YouTube videos, and he said he's having a team build him a late model to run late model races. So I think that's the best thing he could possibly do is build a pro or a super late model and go tour around while you're racing the ARCA races, because that's what he's ultimately wanting to do is run the NASCAR stuff. So I believe the late model is probably going to teach him more than the ARCA cars will. And that's my personal opinion. People are probably going to say I'm stupid or they may agree with me, whatever. But I think late models are probably harder to drive than ARCA cars, especially around like a track like South Boston or anywhere like that. It's just, you got to be up on the wheel the whole time. So I see it both sides. He brings a lot of money, a lot of eyes, a lot of fans to the sport. But I see why some of the Cup drivers and O'Reilly drivers probably were glad that he didn't get that license, because they were probably like, well, he hasn't paid his dues, he hasn't earned it yet. Which in my head, he hasn't. I mean, those guys have been at it some of them are 25 years old and they've been at it for 20 years already. So I believe you got to pay your dues if you're going to race at the top echelon of motorsports. And I don't think he's quite there yet, but I'm sure in a couple of years he'll be racing in the O'Reilly series a whole season, I'm sure. So I see it both ways, but in my opinion, he does nothing but good for the sport, and I hope he continues to want to chase that.
I agree with you. Looking at the NASCAR schedule and everything that's going on there, you talk about the length of races, and I'm glad you brought that up because man, that's a boomer right there because I'm looking at Charlotte Motor Speedway. If you look out, and of course that's coming up Memorial Day weekend, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because of this reason. So compare it. You have the Truck Series that will be on that stage that weekend, and that's going to be the NC North Carolina Education Lottery 200. Okay, look at that, 200. What's that mean? 200 miles about. Then you have the O'Reilly Auto Parts in the Charborough 300, which is 300 miles. But then you go to the Coca-Cola 600. That's 600 miles. That's more than the trucks and the O'Reilly combined on the mileage, and that is just crazy to me. So to your point, Dalton, a lot more miles.
Yeah, I mean a lot more, and it'll be harder for him running the ARCA race. I mean, sure you have the cool shirt, the cool suit, whatever, and the helmet blower, but honestly, that stuff only does so much, and especially if it goes out like Tyler Reddick's went out two weeks ago, maybe I can't really remember what race it was, and if it goes out, it's just hot water that you got to try and empty out of that shirt because it's just little hoses all on your body, so it just makes you scorching hot. And I've had it happen to where my shirt goes out or stops blowing that cold air or moving cold water, and it's just like hot. It's just hot water, especially in my street stock, to where everything is hot. Especially like Anderson. I think I was running like 250 degrees water temp one time at Anderson, so it just made everything in there hot. It hurt the shift through my gloves because the shifter got so hot. So I mean, and those races are longer. Sure, they have better equipment to keep the drivers comfortable and cool, but I mean that's a lot of exercise that you're gonna have to do to try and get in shape for that one.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly another point, and we could have another topic of the week on that as well. But good topic of the week, Harold Adams. I got one good one for next week. That one was a good one, so we didn't have to go in with my details. I'll just save that for next weekend. But I mean that's a good point. I mean this is how do I want to say this? One of the biggest parts is to get people talking, right? And that's exactly what it's done for the sport. So, Harold, good point there. Yes, he's got it talking, whether it's good or whether it's bad.
Right. Yeah. Just like what Dalton said, he's bringing a lot of eyes to the sport. People are kind of paying attention, and maybe we'll get a few more fans that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, they need it. I mean, the world of short track racing and NASCAR and everything is hurting right now as far as the economy goes and whatnot. So the more eyes you can get on the sport, the better because we don't want housing developments, right? So that's that's another story. But great topic of the week this week. Yes, it is polarizing. That's what people are talking about, whether you agree or you disagree or you don't give a damn. That's what they're talking about. So we're going to take our first commercial break here. We're going to thank our marketing partners here in 2026 and our 5th season. Hard to believe we're already to year number 5 in this thing. But when we come back, we'll have the first-time winner in the Great American Stocks at the Salem Speedway. Mr. Trent Bayer will join us next here on the Wild Will Throwdown. Race fans, in 2026, we celebrate 5 years of the podcast, the Wild Will Throwdown. And in 2026, we cannot thank our great marketing partners for what they do for us, including the Salem Speedway, the Sportsdrome Speedway, KKR, Indianapolis Speedrome, Elite Outdoor Services, Shears Drain Cleaning, Kentucky Clutch and Performance, Forklift Rescue, Diesel Boys, Park Fans, Hoosier Auto Racing Fans, Flag to Flag Media, Roosters, Marshall Jaggers Racing, Derby City Recycling, Polk Brothers Racing, John McLaren Motorsports, Shane Wilson Lawn Care, Sean Smith Race Cars, Circle City Raceway, Victory Lane Frenchies, Oink Incorporated, Hadley Towing and Recovery, Code 3 Roofing, KJ Enterprises, The Smile Center, Clap Mowing and Landscaping, Lefebvre's Curbing, El Tarasco Mexican Restaurant, and S&R Towing. We cannot thank our beautiful marketing partners enough for their success and their support in 2026. And welcome back to the Wild Will Throwdown, season number 5. Now on the hotline, the driver of the number 23 Great American Stock competitor, Mr. Trent Bayer. Trent, thanks for taking the time to talk with us this week, buddy.
Hey, Will. Yeah, appreciate you inviting me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Trent, let's talk about it. And, we go into Sunday. Now you're a Great American Stock winner, and we're going to get to all of that because that was such an emotional, awesome time in Victory Lane. But, Trent, you've never been on the show before. So I would like you to tell our listeners, and me, of course, because I really don't know. I know your dad, but how do you get started in motorsports?
Well, of course, following my dad's footsteps, kind of growing up around the racetrack all my life, mainly, Salem, watching him as a little kid and watching a lot of the competitors that I'm with, racing against now, which obviously makes the win this weekend that much more special. But just kind of growing up with him and being in the shop kind of grew, a love for it over the course of, my life, basically. Um, never really thought I'd want to race myself, but, just seemed like one morning I woke up and decided I want to do it. So, I went out and purchased, front wheel drive. I think it was the end of 2017 or 2016 in that area.
I was going to ask you, was it something before the Great American Stock?
Yeah, so I raced basically one race, and that it was a Roval deal back then with that front wheel drive. That was the only first experience I ever had in a race car. Dad didn't really like that. He never liked the front wheel drives. He liked horsepower, the V8s, the big cars.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He pretty much talked me out of that right away and said, we're gonna put you in a street stock and get you going with that. So, the next year we went and bought one, and I started my first season was 2018 up there. So, kind of started from a very very green, no experience to finally 8 years later being able to be a winner up there.
Well, that's pretty crazy and incredible, and we're going to talk about that right now. We go into Sunday afternoon. Of course, everyone who goes to Salem, it's kind of like a whole ordeal. The pits open at 8 a.m. Everyone's there pretty early. They get settled in. All the pit crews down on PNC Pit Road getting ready and set to go. And then we go to drivers' meeting, of course, very early in the morning still, and then practice starts around that, 11:30 time range. It's somewhere in there, different on different days. But then, of course, you guys go out. Not many cars. It was scheduled to be 12 cars, but actually, I should say 15 cars, and it fell off to 12 cars, and then we started with 9 or 10 cars, which seems to be the case. But I'm gonna say this: this was 9 or 10 of the best Great American Stock cars out there, and I always say this: you still are the best street stock competitors in the nation. Incredible race. But Trent, man, this one had storyline after storyline, and I told Harold Adams in the booth, I said, on one of these red flags, I said, my goodness, I said 9 cars, and we got all kinds of storylines here. But, we've seen everything from leaders, contact lap cars, obviously. We saw, of course, Alex and John McLaren, Alex and Wayne Edwards there make contact. And then, of course, we talk about the leader issues. That seemed to be a big story. Your father, Brian Bayer, of course, Glenn Neal, that incident on the back straightaway going into turn 3. Then you had Austin Baum losing something off of turn number 4. Ultimately, you were the right place, right time, being consistent all afternoon long, which got you there. Your team, you did a phenomenal job. But what was it like taking the green flag during that race on Sunday?
Yeah, to that, I wish obviously we won under better circumstances.
Oh, you
never
still
really
won.
Want to win like that, but at the end of the day, like you said, somebody told me, attrition's a big part of being there, and we had ourselves in position to be in that position. So, that's like I said, it just sucks the way we got it, but it's a good deal. But yeah, we took the green flag. I knew, Dad was behind me there in the start. I knew if I got a good start, we could hopefully try to, get him in front of the 98 on the initial, and that happened. And so I think I led, I don't know, first 5 or 6 laps, and right away, I mean, my car wasn't good all day. We were fighting it. We've really been fighting it all year. And first 5, 6 laps, it was just the car was everywhere. I couldn't keep it straight. I think Dad kind of noticed that, and he wasn't going to waste a whole lot of time. And, I knew I was holding up traffic, so he got around me pretty early. 98 got around me pretty early. The car just wasn't there, and I knew it was going to be a long race. Then we had a little bit green flag stint. I think I forget what lap that happened with Dad, but very unfortunate there. That's a whole other story. That just what's that poor guy.
I
The
know.
luck that people hasn't even seen. With the off season, with even just from last season. With the engine deal, we lost a couple engines, and then the the Halloween race.
Yes.
He had put a rear clip on that car over the off season, put a new body on it. Had that thing looking really good. And the first race, he went through another engine, and then in between that race and this race, another engine um, lost the parts on the dyno. So finally he got the engine stuff behind him, and I was having a heck of a run. I know he had a really good dominant car, and it's really really sucks seeing that happen.
But
Um,
but
but then that red flag, came out, and we sat there for a little bit. It seemed like I don't know what it was, but under that red flag, I mean, we fired, took green flag in, and we fired off really really good. The car was pretty strong. Don't know if with the tires cooling down there what it did, but yeah, the rest of the race, we were pretty good. Um, had some more luck. Sucks for Austin with what happened there too, but we didn't have anything for him. But I knew he came across the radio with about 10 or 15 to go, and every time I got on the throttle coming out of the corner, I could feel the rear end start to shake and vibrate on me. And I didn't think I was going to make the checkered flag. I thought the right rear tire was going to give up, but we made it, and we were able to celebrate.
Well, and I'm going to say this, and I know what kind of competitor Austin is. He would say you earned that victory, because you put yourself in that position and you were persistent. And like we say, you never went down. You always kept going. You were second. You were running the best race of your life. And it just happens. Sometimes we need a little bit of luck in this industry, and sometimes we don't. But Austin would say you won that fair and square, I'm sure. I know he was dejected. I saw him going down pit road on the record, and he even put out a press release. He was very happy for you and what you've done, and you earned it. But talking about your dad for a second, and I came down in victory lane and did the interview and shook his hand. Yes, he was dejected. Yes, it was the worst day of his life he could have said at the moment, having that incident, looking at the tore up race car. But when you crossed that finish line first and picked up your first Great American Stock win, I don't know any other way you could top off that day better for him than what you did.
Yeah, I know that. I'm glad it ended that way. We were able to put a smile back on his face. Of course, if he was up there in the front stretch with us, that would have made that even better, made it even sweeter. But that day's coming. We're gonna get the monkey off his back now, and I think we'll be strong.
Well, I told Harold in the booth, I'm just waiting for the day you guys finish 1-2, no matter who's winning or who's second. That would be pretty cool to see. I think that day's coming more than you think. And, you've had some bad luck in 2025. You guys have turned it around here in 2026. You've been struggling as well as your dad, and that's no secret. But this has to give you a boost of confidence this past Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I know we still have a lot of work to do with the car. It's still not, real competitive. We'll figure that out. It's coming. But back to your point too earlier, you said, we only had 9 cars, and it's obviously no secret that our car count's low right now. But I think even with 9 cars, 10 cars, or whatever it may be, 11 cars, we've always had the best, most competitive races.
100%.
Throughout the whole schedule. And and a big part of that's just the respect of the drivers. We all race each other hard. Nobody does anything malicious.
Nope.
We all know that. And I think every single driver, except for a few, had reached out to me, called me, texted me, came up to me that day and congratulated me. Everybody was really happy. So that just, it shows the respect level that we have for each other. And that's a big part of, why we can all race so well together.
Well, you guys are the best street stock drivers in the nation, and I say that. I mean, you tackled the 33-degree banking of Salem Speedway in a street stock going that fast and maneuvering all around that track. Pretty incredible. But yes, I interviewed the top 3 that day. Second place, Alex Ware, said the same thing. He knows what it's like to get his first win. He got it last year. What was also cool, Trent, was that when I interviewed Jeff Caudell, he had a big smile on his face because the last time I interviewed him during the spring fling, he was an inaugural winner of
Mhm.
at Salem Speedway, and he's been trying and trying and trying to get one of those. And he just smiled and said, "You know what? I know what it's like to get that first win." So it kind of was a storybook ending with you top three in victory lane down there. If we would have bet the trifecta, I'm sure everyone would be rich right now. Picking that top three, how the day went. You know what I mean? I mean, you were pretty consistent, but Alex Ware had an up and down day, and Jeff Caldell started out strong, but even he said, during the first time out, he came out in 2026, wasn't as strong as he had. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool on the top three deal.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, in every race, everybody's going to be, every car's going to be different. Everybody's going to show up with something different. And, that's what also kind of keeps a lot of things kind of spread out through our series, our class. Um, everybody shows up one week, they may be fast. Next week, they may miss something a little bit. And, kind of open up the realm for, other guys to kind of show up and, put themselves in a position like that.
Well, before we wrap this up, and I'll let you thank your sponsors, we got some big events coming up. First time under the lights, June the 6th. That's going to be a fun one. Kids Night and SummerSlam. I always like seeing the Great American Stocks underneath the lights of Salem Speedway. Also had the Modifieds debuting that night. And then you go to the Firecracker Weekend, which is the first big, prestigious, iconic race of the 2026 season. You have more races between there and here, but the Halloween 200. But, I was talking about momentum. This has to give you momentum coming to these big events.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. It sparks, a lot more enthusiasm. You can get down really easy. You spend a lot of money in this sport. You spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, time away from your family. Everything that falls in between, and you can get down pretty easily, pretty quick. Yeah, when things like this happen, it boosts you pretty good.
Well, buddy, I'll give you a chance now to thank who you would like to thank on that number 23 for getting you to the Expel victory lane this past Sunday.
Yeah, so we got a whole list here. I'm going to kind of run through them. No order or anything. So Seaford Lawn Care and Excavating, Solar Control Window Tinting, Love Excavating, Patriot Station Service Center, Felker Race Engines, AJ and Drake Felker. Very good engine package. They've won the first two races up there now. Dad also had a Felker in his as well, and they obviously is running really good. So happy with their work. Clem Signs and Styling, Vanessa Bayer, Brad Stacy Hossey, Stephen Jennifer Hall, Rich Sindlewick, Huffman Diesel Repair, Crystal Water Designs, Diesel Boys LLC, Catering by Meyer, King's Home Furnishings, DuBois County Block and Brick, Carpet Warehouse, Bruce Lane, Jake and John Gasser, St. Anthony Tire and Auto Center, Justin and Kelly Haas, Engler's Home Comfort Center, Ship Insurance Group, Lenny and Diane Durkamp, Dino and Janet Maringer, Mike and Judy Reese, Showed Electric, Andrea and Randy Parker, Jeff and Kelly Ship, Yard Goat Artisan Ales, Astro Security, Mark and Ann Dinu, Ron and Shelley Wilgus.
All right, Trent Bayer there giving his sponsor a little bit of technical difficulties, but Trent, continue there. All the marketing partners that got you to victory lane.
Yeah, so obviously my wife Kendra and my daughter Grace, spend a lot of time out here in the shop, and that's a big thing. It's easy for somebody to kind of look on it from the outside, but when you're in it, like my wife's been with me for 8 years doing this, and she hasn't kicked it off yet, so
sure,
we're doing all right. But so yeah, that's a big one there. Obviously my mom, dad's a big help. My sister Taylor and Curtis, Marshall Leakin, Austin Rothgerber, Remington Tarr, Jared Feltner, Parker Feltner, Cody Smith, Shane Haas, Terry D. Kemper, John Turner. He's a spotter for me, does a really good job. Brandon Bayer, Courtney Bagley, and then just some other kind of honorable mentions here. Obviously Salem Speedway in itself, and Brent and Melissa for all they've done. Daryl Brown up there, Travis, our tech man. Thanks for sticking with us. And obviously all the safety team and all they do. Track photographers Jim, Scott, and Rich, Will, you and Harold. You guys do an awesome job calling all the races. Really enjoy listening to them. Dirt to Media, Bobby and Nathan Bowling. And then also just want to kind of give a shout out to Pastor Ron. We missed him this weekend. Rest in peace, Godspeed.
Yep.
And we appreciate Nick Reed and Noah Manship kind of stepping in and taking his place. So Yeah, that about wraps it up. It takes a village, like we always say, and that's the only way we can keep these cars on track.
Well, Trent, I'm telling you what, I speak for everyone else that the rest of 2026, this momentum booster for you. I know your dad, I know right now he's down on it, but we love seeing Brian out there, and I call him the Orange Army because, man, there's a lot of orange out there during race day for you guys and, yourself and your dad, and it's a big family affair. But, Trent, once again, thanks for joining us here on the show this week, and we'll see you June the 6th under the lights.
All righty, sounds good. Thanks a bunch.
Hey, Wild Will Throwdown fans, Will Greenwell here. If you're into all types of racing like I am, then you need to check out the all-new Flag to Flag Media show each and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to Flag to Flag Media, that's flag, the number 2, Flag Media on Facebook and give them a like, or YouTube and subscribe. They will cover all of your dirt racing needs around the region. Flag to Flag Media. Check them out.
And welcome back to the Wild Will Throwdown season number 5. That was Trent Bayer, the first-time winner of the Great American Stocks at the Salem Speedway, fueled by the Hoosier Lottery. Harold Adams, what a race that was, and of course another first-time winner. Jeff Caudell, first-time winner at the Spring Fling. And then we go here to Trent Bayer, first-time winner at Salem Speedway.
Yeah, pretty amazing. You almost wouldn't think all that stuff was going to happen because the car counts started out a little low, so you think, nothing's going to happen, right? But man, you never know. I mean, that's like they say in other sports. That's why they play the game. Well, this is why they race the race. You never know what's going to happen.
No, you don't. So congratulations to Trent Bayer. Awesome job of that young man. And of course, your heart goes out to your dad, his dad, Brian Bayer, from that incident he had in the back straightaway going into turn number 3. But we got a lot more racing coming up this weekend. It is the second weekend of May, and everything else fires up down here from the Derby. So, Harold Adams, what do we have this Saturday night at the Sportsdrome Speedway?
Bud Light Twin 45s, special event for the TNT screen print modified figure eights, going 245 lappers. One of those deals again where they combine the finish for an overall finish. So you actually could not win a race and win the overall. So always interesting there. And I think the Ford Ovals are running along with Powder Puff and the Future Stars.
It's going to be a great weekend of racing, and Friday night we kick it off with the Kentuckiana Kart Racing Series. That is May the 8th. Not only the karts are in action, but the Ford Crown Vics for the Future Stars and the Legend Series cars and the Bandolero cars, if we get any of those. That is on Friday night, so it kind of kicks it off. Salem Speedway is in action this Saturday night, not racing, but they are going to have the first annual Legendary Car, Truck, and Bike Festival around the High Banks. Music, burnout contest, and more. Check them out. That is this Saturday, May the 9th. Of course, you can always go there and come to Sportsdrome later if you're in the area. That's during the day. Dalton Connor, where are we at this weekend with you?
I'll be at Anderson Speedway once again, pulling another double duty. My legend car and my modified. It's spring championships. So spring championships for the modifieds, there's street stocks, legends, and the front wheel drives at Anderson.
Oh, that'll be a good show up at the Anderson Speedway. This is one track I keep saying we are going to go to this year. I just know we're going to get up there, Harold Adams. Plymouth Motor Speedway. This weekend's their big moneymaker. It is the Grand Slam. It is the big iconic outlaw late model show. They're also going to have the factory Fords, just another name for the Ford Crown Vics, street stocks, and Hornets. Now, Harold Adams, this is kind of like the South Bend. You and I, we loved South Bend. And those outlaw late models flew around that track. I could only imagine at Plymouth.
Yeah, like you said, one of these days we'll make it up there. It's definitely on our list to go there. So, who knows? One of these days it might work out, and we'll make our way there.
Well, the beautiful part is they race primarily on Fridays, which is a nice thing because you and I both, we can get up there on a Friday, so we'll have to check the schedule out a little bit more. If you're into the straight line drag racing, Ohio Valley Raceway, they're going to have the bracket racing this weekend. We always want to include the dragsters. Circle City Raceway is in action this Friday night. The Modifieds, Crown Vics, Super Stocks, and Hornets. Actually, it's pretty interesting. I talked to the race director today, my buddy Kevin, and the Paragon staff is actually going to be the staff at Circle City. Their announcer, the scorer, everybody in the tower, because the staff at Circle City has a race series, the Midwest Thunder Midgets, or the 410 Sprint Cars, and they're going to be at Bloomington with the TQs. So that's going to be 2 races that you don't want to miss this weekend if you're dirt fans. Then, of course, you go on to Lincoln Park. Mother's Day weekend shootout, Kenyon Midgets, 410 Sprints, UMP Modified, Superstocks, and Bombers. Going to be a good show there at Lincoln Park. Paragon Speedway is going to be off, obviously. They head on up to Circle City. Brownstown Speedway in Jackson County, Super Late Models, Super Stocks, Pure Stocks, Crown Vic, and Hornets, 5 divisions on tap. A huge one down at the Lake Cumberland Speedway. It's the Johnny Wheeler Memorial. Now, if you don't know Johnny Wheeler, my dad spent quite a few years at the Bluegrass Motor Speedway, the Bluegrass Speedway down in Barchtown, Kentucky, almost like a dirt Salem, if you will. And Johnny Wheeler, I remember that Super Late Model number 31 wheeling around that track, and they're going to have a special for him in his memory. Super Late Model is going to be $10,053 to win. UMP Modified is going to be $1,531 to win, plus all classes. We talked about Florence Speedway last week. Again, they're going to have a big one, the Demolition Derby up there, plus $2,000 to win for pro late models, and regular classes are going to be in action. If you want to go down to Morgantown, Kentucky, Cedar Ridge Speedway, open wheel modifieds, $1,500 to win, and all other classes. Now, 2 racetracks that are off this weekend, Windy Hollow Speedway and Rockcastle Speedway. And if you want to talk about the National Series, NASCAR, the Craftsman Truck Series at the Watkins Glen Road Course on FS1 Friday at 4:30 p.m., O'Reilly Auto Parts Series Saturday, May the 9th at 4 p.m. on the CW, and the Cup Series Sunday, May the 10th on Mother's Day at 3 p.m. on FS1. That reminds me, Dalton Connor, I hope your mother is doing better. Of course, she had that big scare and that procedure done, but anything planned for Mother's Day this weekend?
Yeah, racing. I mean, hopefully I can win her a couple features for Mother's Day.
There you go. My actually wife is going out of town on Thursday and won't be back to Sunday, so I can just kind of relax and do racing myself. But Harold Adams, what do we got going on this weekend?
Oh, definitely a lot of racing Friday and Saturday. Friday doing the karts KKR, and then Saturday at Sportsdrome with the Twin 45s, and probably rest up on Sunday.
There you go. Well, guys, this has been a great show today. I want to thank you guys for coming on each and every time. I want to thank Mr. Trent Bayer, the first-time Great American Stock winner, for coming by. This is going to be a great year for him and the momentum he's picking up. I want to thank all of the drivers and crews for their contributions of the show, and, of course, the great fans. I mean, I talk about this every week. The great fans is what makes us go here. With the merchandise sales, with the giving back to our veterans, I will say we have a huge announcement for next year. We're not going to do that until the end of the season. New merchandise is getting ready to drop soon, the brand new tumblers for the 5th anniversary, so we're excited about that. Man, just so many good things happening here on the show and whatnot. But as far as I am concerned, my name is Will Greenwell, and we will see you around the turn.